Testing. Testing. Are we live? Are we live?
I was about to say, where's my galone? Oh, fuck. Ugh. I wasn't talking into the mic.
Says upcoming. Oh,
Are we live?
we are live.
1, 2, 1, 2. We sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we sound good. Okay, cool. All right.
I had to reread 21 before I arrived. Because I think it was the last pod I was in and out. The chapter, Proverbs.
Oh, yeah, you were in and out.
I was in and out. Had to refresh the mind.
Okay, which means that we're on 23?
No, we're on 22.
Oh, we're on 22.
Yeah, I read. We read 21 last week.
Yeah. Remember, the horse is prepared for the day of battle, but victory belongs to the Lord. That's a bar. That was a bar. What's going on, Confessions crew? Things look a little different, as you noticed. It's just me and Ragu for today. Brother Jerome had a family event that he is attending, so he will not be joining us this evening, which is okay. Wishing him the best as he's with his family. And so, yeah, it's just a two-man show today.
It's like we're having a date.
It's like we're going to like breakfast.
It's very intimate, you know?
Just a one-on-one. And I mean, what's funny is that we actually usually hang out. It's just me and you, since Jerome doesn't live here.
Yeah.
So it's usually just me and
it's
you.
The usual.
Yeah,
it's nothing new.
Yeah, nothing new. And we always hang out. So I mean, just to catch up, just for this week, man, I had a lot of classes to take. I was back in school again, what it felt like. But at the same time, I will say that despite my desire to not want to go, I did feel like it was very productive, and I got a lot of things out of it, and I'm excited because there's some things that I'm gonna get to apply to my business in the near future. And so yeah, man, I it's just real estate has always been interesting towards me. I feel like in some ways I've been part in, part out. I've had it as a priority, and then but on the back burner. Like I've kind of flip flopped into that, not being consistent, you know, and because of that, I have neglected to build my foundation and set up the system in place that is needed to be successful, not just in real estate, but in anything, you know, like having a system in place so that the key word that I want to focus in on, which has been kind of our word as of lately, is intention. Like being intentional with each and everything that we do. And I feel like for real estate, I've been wanting and I've been getting a little bit more intentional about it. But over the past week that I've been in classes, it's been like, it's become even more apparent to me how much I need to invest into it. And like I said, I've been trying to hone in and be more intentional and get strategic about things. But I think this week has kind of provided the clarity and the direction that I needed for this, like a starting place. I feel like I've had my mind made up as far as, okay, I need to do this, right? But as far as building the foundation, I haven't known exactly where to start with that to get to where I want to go. And I know for a fact now where I want to start and how I'm going to start, and so that real estate can become, you know, more a viable business, more consistent. And so, I mean, the fact that I've been able to, you know, make a living off of real estate as of right now, I feel like is almost a miracle. Like how inconsistent I've been with it, and how I've like how we've talked about before, just running around with like a chicken with his head cut off, just doing things and, oh, you know, I'll try this, I'll try that, and not being consistent with any of it. And it's like the fact that I've been able to make a living off of this is kind of a miracle in and of itself. And so, but now I'm excited because it's just like I'm finally gonna start doing it right, like doing it the right way, doing it with intention, and yeah, I'm excited to see what future it yields, and hopefully I'll get to discuss more with you. You know, knowing that you're an entrepreneur and you've been going through the similar process of building your system, building your bomb, and I'm excited to share some ideas with you that I've had with mine, and just to you know get our minds working because I know that two minds are better than one, and I appreciate your perspective on business matters as well as a fellow businessman.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where we can really relate a lot, and it's always been me and you, my brother. And I think of, we fight for the people that stand behind us, and you and I, you stand with your brothers, you stand next to each other as you go into war, So I look at you like that. So I really appreciate you being by my side. Man, and I think that's been the word of the year. I mentioned this, I think, a few times already.
Yeah,
Intention,
yeah.
doing everything with intention. For me this week, it's been really disciplined, really, really disciplined because I haven't been wanting to do nothing. And I think of the quote from, I think it was Mike Tyson that said it, but he said discipline is doing the things even when you don't feel like doing it, or even when you don't want to do it. And where I can relate to what you were talking about was the systems, and actually being consistent and doing them, because my biggest constraint as of lately has been marketing, which is me being inconsistent with it, because my business, and I kept on questioning, man, why is my business like this? Some months were busy, very, very, very busy, and then other months were just dead, slow, whatever the case may be. And the reason why it's like that is because when I'm not busy, I am very consistent with the marketing. I'm consistently posting, doing outreach, reaching out to clients, past clients, shooting the text, following up, working my leads. And when I do get busy, I kind of stray away from that and I go into the labor side of things. So that's where I become inconsistent with the marketing, and it's like a ripple effect. I don't feel it right away, but a week or two pass or a month passes and then I feel it. So just very disciplined, especially this week. Um, just not wanting to do it just because I don't know. But I do see results from it. So that's always a shot of dopamine for me. So it feels good when that happens, and then just being able to provide a good quality service for those clients, that always feels good as well. But kind of was mentioning this to you before we started the start of the pod. Um, I'm scared, bro. I'm scared. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like the fear of failure, fear of shame, fear of, I don't know. It's a new feeling just because I've never really felt this. I don't know. It's a new feeling, and it's kind of, in a way, heartbreaking. It hurts the heart because I'm like, dang, bro, like, why do I feel this way, And I know the solution. When we always say, when you're scared, the scariest moments, that's when you jump, and then you realize it's not even that deep. And yeah, I just got to take action now. Just got to take action on a few things, and with God by my side, I can't fail, and just allow it to run its course, and we'll see what happens. That's how my week's been. Just very disciplined, and just realizing that, hey, you have that feeling for a reason, so it's time to take action and just do it.
No, it's fair, and I think that we don't give ourselves enough grace whenever we have the very human feelings and reactions, as far as feeling fear, feeling doubt, feeling a sense of, not wanting to be embarrassed or ashamed, and even a little bit worried about putting ourselves out there, because, we, I think we've gotten to this point where we've set these very high expectations, and we have a certain standard for ourselves that we would like to meet, and the possibility of not meeting it, I think that's more scary than anything else. Is I think we've talked about this before, but where it's the biggest fear is just wasting potential, and not achieving what I believe God has made me capable of achieving. And it's knowing that the only thing that stands in the way of me and my dreams is, myself. And so, being our own biggest enemy is, it's part of it. It's part of being your biggest ally as well. And overthinking is, you mentioned this before, it's a superpower that can work for and against you. It's a double-edged sword. And but I think there's no shame in feeling or admitting that, you're scared, because I've definitely had those same moments very frequently, even where I I think about, you know, well, what if it doesn't work? What if I gotta go and resort to doing things and working a job that I don't want to. But it's kind of how you mentioned it. Like, there's no way I will know unless I try. You know.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking about it earlier where, okay, what are my two choices? It's to either take action or don't. If I don't take action, certified loser, certified failure. That's guaranteed. But if I do take action, I'll never know. So I was thinking about that earlier, and like I said, I think the only solution is to take action, especially in those moments when you are scared, or when you are having that doubt. And exactly how you're meaning, like exactly kind of how you're saying, it's a very human emotion that creeps in, and maybe I haven't felt it in a while. I don't know, just because I'm just knowing me. I'm not one to shy away from a fight, to shy away from taking action or being the first one to go, especially when the odds are against you. I always love the underdog story. I love that story, and then once you do pull it off and come out on top and make it happen, it's the highest of the highs. So looking forward to going to war again. So
Yeah, and like I said, I think there is no failing. It's just not trying.
yeah,
If you try, it doesn't work out. Well, that's fine. You're one failure, like
one failure
one
closer.
failure closer
Yeah.
towards, whatever you deem success. And so, yeah, man, I think there's a lot, and of course there's going to be a lot of trial and error with moving forward in my business and what I'm going to be working on. There's going to be a lot of trial and error. There's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to do, and there's a lot of failures and little L's that I have to take along the way, because, as you know, in business, it's, you're hoping to get 2 to 5 out of every 100. At least in my conversion, that's, 2 to 5 out of 100. So, but you have to get those. You have to go through those 100. You have to get those 95 no's to get to those 5 yeses. And so that's what it takes. And I think the funny thing, the World Baseball Classic is going on right now, and I love baseball. It's my favorite sport, because baseball teaches you how to deal with failure, because that's what baseball is. It's the hardest sport in the world. And when you consider, you know, the greats of the greats failing 7 times out of 10, and they're the greatest of all time, because you learn that it's the three that matter the most. And then it's whenever the pressure's on, if you're able to still stick through it, still, stick with your guns and do your best and go out there and perform, that's when it matters most. And so I think that's why I love baseball so much, is because it is difficult. It's the most humbling sport that you can play, and I think it has a lot of lessons that can teach you about life. As far as life is very humbling, and life is very difficult, and it's just a matter of preparation, intention, execution, right? Like those are really the three things that you have to be consistent, like the consistency, preparation, consistency, execution, and intention. Just every time showing up every day, taking those reps every single day, just for the opportunity to win 3 out of every 10, you
Mm.
know? So that's why I love baseball so much, and why I think because of that, I've been able to translate that into my life and my business and in a lot of different areas. So yeah, man, a lot of exciting things coming, a lot of exciting things, and so, um, but for those of y'all, the Confessions audience, hope y'all had a great week. And if you missed a little bit earlier, then brother Jerome was unable to join us today. He's with his family, so wishing him and his family the best as they are celebrating. It's not a bad thing. It's not a one of those like, oh, not a funeral or nothing like that. Thank God, they're having a celebration, and so thankful for that. And so it's a 2-man today. Running the two man. I'm gonna take a lap. And we are in Proverbs chapter 22, just to start off with. I think it's my turn to pray anyways.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and pray real quick and get started. So um, thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus, for this day. Thank you for this evening and the opportunity to meet with my brother here and get into your word and just get closer to you, God. I thank you for all the trials and the tribulations. I thank you for all the lessons that we have learned. And I thank you for the opportunities that you are giving us to go and try our best and to go and chase our dreams. And thank you. We're just so thankful, God. Just thankful for this life that we are living. And just thank you for being by our side always. And no matter what, everything, all glory goes to you. And we just hope, God, we pray that we are able to represent you in everything that we do. And especially tonight as we do the #1 podcast in the world, Confessions. And just thank you, God. Nothing but thankfulness and gratitude. And let us have a great podcast and allow us to convey your message to the viewers. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, all right, all right. In Proverbs chapter 22, do you want to read this or do you want to read Matthew?
Yeah, I'll read this one.
All right.
Proverbs chapter 22. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. Rich and poor have this in common. The Lord is the maker of them all. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Humility is the fear of the Lord. Its wages are riches and honor and life. In the paths of the wicked are snares and pitfalls, but those who would preserve their life stay far from them. Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. Whoever sows injustice reaps calamity, and the rod they wield in fury will be broken. The generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. Drive out the mocker, and out goes strife. Quarrels and insults are ended. One who loves a pure heart and who speaks with grace will have the king for a friend. The eyes of the Lord keep watch over knowledge, but he frustrates the words of the unfaithful. The sluggard says, "There's a lion outside. I'll be killed in the public square." The mouth of an adulterous woman is a deep pit. A man who is under the Lord's wrath falls into it. Folly is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline will drive it far away. one who oppresses the poor to increase his wealth, and one who gives gifts to the rich. Both come to poverty. 30 sayings of the wise. Saying 1. Pay attention and turn your ear to the sayings of the wise. Apply your heart to what I teach, for it is pleasing when you keep them in your heart and have all of them ready on your lips. So that your trust may be in the Lord, I teach you today, even you. Have I not written 30 sayings for you? Sayings of counsel and knowledge, teaching you to be honest and to speak the truth, so that you bring back truthful reports to those you serve. Saying 2. Do not exploit the poor because they are poor, and do not crush the needy in court, for the Lord will take up their case and will exact life for life. Saying 3. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. Saying 4. Do not be one who shakes hands in pledge or puts up security for debts. If you lack the means to pay, your very bed will be snatched from under you. Saying 5. Do not move an ancient boundary stone set up by your ancestors. Saying 6. Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank. Proverbs chapter 22.
Ooh. Well, initial thoughts.
I think which one stuck out to me? Initial thought was saying 3. It says, do not take, verse 24, do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. And I think it's pretty, a common saying is, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So I think I initially related that saying to that quote, and I think it's exactly how it says. You associate with for example, people who are easily angered, you may learn their ways and eventually get yourself ensnared.
Mm-hmm. And one of them that stood out to me was verse 6 says, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. I think this has a lot to do with how you raise the younger generation, like the children that you have, and how important it is from the get-go is to set them down the right path and give them the foundation that they need. And whether or not they apply it in the future, I think, of course it's up to them, but I think there is merit towards you showing your kids how to treat people, how to conduct business, how to, treat let's say we have boys, right? How to treat women properly, and just how to be a honorable man. Showing them from a young age, and not allowing them to be raised by what the internet says, what the friends say, what teachers say, but being there and being the example for them. And so I can say that my parents, and I'm sure I could speak for you as well, that they showed me from a young age how to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
And did I depart from it for a while? Of course I did. But I found my way back because that was my roots.
Yeah.
So
I think I've said this before. I think our parents, they set up that foundation. They allowed us the opportunity to be able to go chase after our dreams and goals. And I think that's very honorable is a good word, I think, for this chapter, just because, I mean, I know it mentions in which one, I don't know what verse it is, but it's basically talking about how you shouldn't take advantage of the poor just because they're poor,
yeah.
So I think honorable is a very good overall message for this chapter. Another verse that stuck out to me was verse 2. It says, rich and poor have this in common. the Lord is maker of them all.
Yeah.
So I like that one because whether you're coming from, people like to say it, a silver spoon, whether you come from a wealthy family, wealthy people, or whatever, or on the other hand, you don't come from money, you're poor, right? We're we all come from the same God. The Lord is maker of them all. And how I like to see it is we all have an equal opportunity to be a good, honorable person. And whether you're rich or you're poor, right is right and wrong is wrong, so
Yeah.
your actions show everything.
And I think one thing that God always um, mentions is how insignificant wealth is. And just looking at verse 1, a good name is to be more desired than great wealth. Favor is better than silver and gold. Like, God always makes it a point to mention that to be a good man, to be an honorable man or woman, that is more important than anything else. I mean, he even says to don't store your riches on earth because those things will pass, to store your riches in heaven. And so it's God's always trying to teach us, because I think it is one of the harder battles to face is wealth and attributing our value, attributing our worth, and even at some points worshiping money and living for the sake of money. And I think it's very easy to fall into that trap, and then especially even on the opposite side, as someone who's poor or someone who's just a working class individual, always comparing yourself to someone who has money, always maybe even looking down on your life because you don't have the wealth that someone else has, maybe if they're the same age or younger than you, or they come from the same town as you. And better it is to have a good name than great wealth. And I think I just I love that. And then one thing that you also mentioned about the the poor, right? The verse that you were talking about was verse 22. Do not rob the poor because he is poor, or crush the afflicted at the gate, for the Lord will plead their case and take the life of those who rob them. So, I mean, it makes it very clear here that God stands by those who are, who are in need, who are oppressed. And so I think, again, part of the battle that comes with maybe with riches or wealth is not looking down, remaining humble, right? Like humility is, he also mentions here, the reward of humility and the fear of the Lord are riches, honor, and life. And so being humble, being honorable, being a good man or a good woman, those are more valuable than silver and gold. That's what God always makes it a point to say that. And so
Yeah, I think this is something that, how we mentioned, honorable is a very good word to describe this chapter. um I think we always push this to, always choose to try to do the right thing, always do the right thing, because uh, I'm a firm believer of you reap what you sow. You know, you you choose to do snake people, you choose to lie, you choose to steal, you choose to do the wrong things, wrong people. That's eventually going to come and bite you, whether it's the next day, the next week, next year, or the next life.
yeah.
And that's something that you were alluding to as well. When you do choose to do the right thing, you may not be paid back today, tomorrow, the next week, the next year. And this is something that's been heavy on my mind, not as of lately, but it's been a thought that's crossed my mind. But always choose to do the right thing, because whether you get paid, you get the riches here on earth. If you don't get it here on earth, you will get the riches up in heaven.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's something that God promises us, throughout the Bible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, it's a great point that you make. And another point to about, training the children, he mentions in verse 15, it says, foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child, the rod of discipline will remove it far from him. And I think this goes back to what we've talked about in the past about how we want to raise our children, and how we were raised was discipline and rod, literal, in some ways. Definitely got my spankings from a belt. And so I think one thing that I've thought about a lot, because you know we both want to be fathers to many children, and I think, how can I be the best father that possible? How can I be the best? And I think a lot about, well, how will I handle certain problems, and how will I approach disciplining my children? And I think God's very very upfront about it. Just remember to discipline them, because foolishness is naturally bound upon their heart, and if you don't train them, then the world's going to train them, and we know how the world is. And so, but I like, again, I look back to how my parents raised me, and discipline was number one, right? Like I couldn't act up without repercussions. I couldn't get out of line without being corrected. And of course, it was always in love, and it was never like reactionary. Like, let's say I did something, it wasn't just, oh, slap me out, like right there, right then and there. It was always, I got in trouble. Okay, whenever we get home, you know, you already know you're gonna get whoops, and then this is how many you're getting, this is why, you're getting your whoopings or whatever, and bah, they go through with it. And then at the time, I'm like, in the world, you hate me and you don't love me. And then once I calm down, then I'm like, I go back to my parents and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like,
Learn the lesson.
yeah, I'm sorry. I know you did this because you love me,
Yeah.
and I need to be better.
Yeah, and I think that's the one of the purest ways to show love is holding each other accountable, and especially when it comes to our children. And something that you kind of alluded to as well is how can we discipline and how can we guide our children? And I think a good representation of that is looking at the person in the mirror, holding yourself accountable, holding yourself up to those standards, because children always look. They
They're
always
always
see, they're
watching and
always
listening.
watching and listening, and um, they get good and bad habits from either you or the world. So it's I think that's a good responsibility to carry on
Hmm.
when it comes to being a parent.
Exactly, and holding those standards for yourself now, right? Like, that's why I like the word intention, because even now I want to be intentional about the man I am, because if I don't teach myself, if I don't train myself to be the type of man I want to be in the future, then I'll never become it. Right? Like, if I can't, like, maybe I can, right? Maybe, there are some people who, oh, they have their child, and then it's like a switch, like overnight, like as soon as they see the child, it's like, okay, I need to lock in. Right? And so I'm sure that could happen, for me, but at least I want to be as proactive as possible to, let me be the man now. Like, let me be the man now, so that whenever I do have my children, it's like, what, I'm ready for this. Like, I'm ready to be a father. I'm ready to, show them what it means to be a God fearing individual, whether that be a boy or a girl, um, whatever it may be. And so I I definitely want to focus now, be intentional now, because I don't want to be one of those parents that's like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm still messed up and I can't even take care of myself, and I don't want to be one of those. And if you are one of those, then I mean, it is what it
Do
is.
better.
Yeah, it is what it is. But at least for me, I want to be proactive about it and be. I want to. I do think about it. I do think about
Yeah.
the conversations I want to have with my children, and I think about the scenarios that might come up, and, well, how am I going to handle this? How
Mm.
am I going to, I want to be having a cool head and think about the the messages and the lessons that I want to impart on my children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think exactly how you're mentioning your habits today will eventually show in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You have bad habits, they're gonna show, the results are going to show eventually.
Mm-hmm.
You have good habits, those results are going to show eventually as well. And I think we're both a firm believer on this with our habits today, and being very intentional with building the man and becoming the man now. And I believe that eventually, once we do have those children, it's just going to boost those habits. It's going to boost those attributes that we built, and it's just going to make us, of course, better. I think regardless, you becoming a parent should make you better. It shouldn't drag you down, and you shouldn't look at it as a negative thing. I think it's one of the most beautiful blessings to be able to experience on this world. And starting today, like with your habits, you do good habits, you stay disciplined with yourself, you hold yourself accountable up to those standards. It's just going to boost you when you do have those children.
Absolutely, and I think like my even my parents, man, they've set an incredible example. Um, and my father, and like I think my father had a lot of obstacles in his life, a lot of things that he had to overcome and work through, and he got closer to God, and whenever he had me, it's like he had to work a lot, and I think my dad was able to do it. My dad's a hell of a father, and so I want to be able to also represent him properly, and think at the same time like, well, if my dad can do it and he had all these things that he went through in his life and all these mistakes that he made, and like, I can do it, and I want to be a father like my dad, and all the good and that my dad has taught me, and my mom, all the things that she has taught me, I want to be able to apply that with my children.
Yeah. And I think that's such a beautiful thing as well. Exactly how you're mentioning, with once you have those kids, they hold you accountable. They'll
Mm-hmm.
hold you accountable, and uh, man, kids are brutally honest sometimes. Like they'll call you out on your BS, and
Yeah.
um, but I think that's such a beautiful blessing to receive once you do have children. and
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, I think they're blessings. They're just going to boost you to do better.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't look at it as a negative thing.
Absolutely. And so, man, I'm excited for that day.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready right now. I want one. I've been having baby fever for the past like year, bro. I'm ready. But I was talking to my mom about this. I was like, Mom, I think I'm ready to have a kid. Like I want one. I don't know what it is, but I want one already. And she was just like, you got to get married first. I was like, yeah, I got to find a wife first.
Gotta find the wife first, and then boom, 13 kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm excited for that day, and but I think it's just how we mentioned, just being intentional about getting closer to God, and of course, the fathers that we're gonna want to be is like the father, like who's the better representation. There's no better representation of how to be a loving father than the father.
The big man upstairs, yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, I don't know if there's any. Is there anything else that you can think about in this that you've seen?
Yeah, like I said, I think overall, this a good word for this chapter is just honor. Being honorable with everything that you do. Um, whether it comes to finances, whether it comes to having children. I mean, being honorable is the way to go, and I think that's a good lesson to take from this chapter.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can move on then to Matthew, and we are in chapter 16. And so I will read this one. It looks to be a pretty short chapter, or not short, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
No, we can read it all. It's not that long.
Yeah, we should be able to read it long. All right. Matthew chapter 16 for those watching. Pharisees test Jesus. The Pharisees and Sadducees came up, and testing Jesus, they asked him to show them a sign from heaven. But he replied to them, "When it is evening, you say, 'It will be fair weather, for the sky is red.' And in the morning, there will be a storm today, for the sky is red and threatening. Do you know how to discern the appearance of the sky, but cannot discern the sign of the times? An evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and a sign will not be given, except the sign of Jonah." And he left them and went away. And the disciples came to the other side of the sea, but they had forgotten to bring any bread. And Jesus said to them, "Watch out and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees." Then he began to discuss this among themselves, saying, "He said that because we did not bring any bread." But Jesus, aware of this, said, "You men of little faith, why do you discuss among yourselves that you have no bread? Do you not yet understand, or remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000, and how many baskets full you picked up? Or the 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many large baskets full you picked up? How is it that you do not understand that I did not speak to you concerning bread? But beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." Then they understood that he did not say, "Beware of the leaven of bread," but of the teaching of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Peter's confession of Christ. Now, when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he was asking the disciples, who do the people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, and others Elijah, but still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, because flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. I also say unto you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overpower it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall have been bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall have been loosened in heaven." Then he warned the disciples that they should tell no one that he was the Christ. Jesus foretells his death. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples, and he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and raised up on the third day. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "God forbid it, Lord. This shall never happen to you." But he turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are not setting your mind on God's interest, but man's." Discipleship is costly. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and will then repay every man according to his deeds. Truly I say to you, there are some of those who are standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." Matthew chapter 16.
This is a really good chapter too.
Yeah, it is.
I think initial thoughts, I'm like, I just see all this happening today, especially when he's talking about the Pharisees and the Sadducees and how we shouldn't be listening to them and we should listen to him, you know? I think that's very powerful, especially nowadays when you see on a lot of social media nowadays, the news, they're manipulated. A lot of it's propaganda, trying to get you to believe something, or trying to get you to go against each other, to be riled up, something. They'll try to get you to believe something. But exactly how it says in this chapter, Jesus says, "Don't listen to that. Listen to me." And I think that's very, very, very powerful, especially when it comes to nowadays. Um, and then, where was it? And then I think it's just very powerful how um, he says how he talks about the soul, and I think we see that a lot of nowadays. We hear about it, at least, where people sell their souls, right? And I think that's very powerful when God is asking, he's like, or Jesus is asking God, what good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? And like I said, I think this chapter is very spot on when it comes to nowadays.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a very powerful moment whenever it's 21 verses 23, whenever Jesus is telling the disciples about his death, how he is going to face a lot of suffering, and he's going to have to go through a lot, and eventually he will be killed, but he will raise up on the third day. And Peter says, God forbid it, Lord, this shall never happen to you. And Jesus, in response, tells him to get behind me, Satan. He says, you are a stumbling block to me, for you are not setting your mind on God's interest, but man's. And I think a good way to take this is there are certain things that God has set in motion, and there are certain things that we're going to have to face that we don't want to. There are certain trials and tribulations that are coming in our lives, if we haven't gone through some already, that are going to put us in the place where we're like, God forbid this from happening. We don't want this to happen. And yet Jesus is saying, get behind me, Satan. Pretty much rebuking him, saying, you are too busy being stuck up on the interest of man, and you're ignoring the Father's will. And whenever the Lord, in the Lord's prayer, says, thy will be done, right? Thy will be done. And how difficult that actually is when it is time to execute it. How difficult is it to deny your own flesh and let go of what these, maybe it's strongholds, maybe it's people, whatever it may be, to let go of those things and just fully trust in God, even if it's something that is extremely difficult for you to face, and not giving into what you want, but allowing God to do his thing, and allowing whatever hardships might come to fruition, allowing them to happen. And so I think Peter's a good representation of all of us, honestly. Peter's like the hothead. He's the one that's always messing up. He's the one that's always like he's the emotional one. He's the one that's probably the most relatable, like the most human, because of course, like he sees Jesus is there, and he's like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna be killed. And Peter, he's like, no, like I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. No, like, and I think that's a very natural human reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, what does Jesus say about Peter? He says, I also say that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. Now he says Peter's the rock. And he says, I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth shall have been bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosened in heaven. Like, Jesus holds Peter in such a high regard. I think because Peter's so much willing to be himself. And even though it might seem to kind of like, well, that's kind of harsh to say, get behind me, Satan, which remember, if you remember back whenever Jesus was being tempted on his 40-day fast in the desert, that's what he says. He says, get behind me, Satan. And that's what he says it here to his disciple, right? And but I think it's just showing and demonstrating how it's God's ultimate plan. Nothing should come in place of it. No matter how you feel about it, what God has ordained to happen is going to happen, and you have no right to refuse it. Right? You just gotta let it happen. And so, I think that's a very powerful moment whenever Peter's just having this human reaction of like, no, I do not want this. Well, God, why do I? No.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's so relatable
Yeah.
because I'm sure you've had moments like this where you're just going through a hardship, you're going through a hard time, and you're just like God, like, and you know what you know the right thing to do. You know
Yeah.
the right thing to do, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
But in the flesh doesn't want to. You
Mm-hmm.
naturally don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a very powerful example, and exactly, I think you hit it right on the button that we can relate to Peter a lot. But we have to go through it. We have to choose to do the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
and once you do it, the clarity and I don't know, that feeling, that emotion, that it's like a high that you get on the other side
Yeah.
of doing the right thing.
And because really what you think about it is Jesus is he's setting up our salvation.
Yeah.
Like Jesus understands that what's at stake.
And I was gonna ask you, do you think like this is a pure example of how to get into heaven because how it kind of mentions like I'm giving you the keys to heaven,
Yeah.
Peter. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
it
the
could,
way to heaven.
yeah, I mean it's exactly what he says right here for his disciples. If anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. And I think that's it's clear as day. What Jesus is asking is deny yourself, deny your fleshly desires, deny that innate selfishness that you have within you, and follow me. Then, like truly, to deny oneself is the hardest thing in life because we want to live life how we want to live it. We want to be like our own gods, essentially.
Yeah, and I think it's such a powerful like it may sound like in a way he's I don't want to say insulting, but he's just like get behind me, Satan.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think of it as, for example, like the wrong choice or the wrong idea that you get in your mind or like the evil thought, whatever it may be, or however you want to describe it. Jesus is showing that, hey, no, get behind me, like forget all that, like
Yeah.
that's behind me. I'm gonna do God's way, you
Yeah.
know. So I think that's a very powerful example, and he's demonstrating to us on how we should approach these things.
Mm-hmm. And and man, it's just I think the hardest part about this all is just picking up the cross and following him, like taking up your cross. And mind you, Jesus knows what's about to happen. Jesus knows exactly. He's telling them. He's foretelling his death, foretelling his suffering, and foretelling him, foretelling them that he's going to die. But the significance of it, the what's at stake. This right here is what's going to allow us and everyone to gain salvation, for us to be able to experience heaven. That's what's at stake, and that's why Jesus is so adamant about, no, get behind me. Like you cannot intervene because the whole world, for the rest of humanity, right? Their salvation is at stake. I came here to save, my people, and like it says, build my church. That's what Jesus is doing, and so yeah, I like how Jesus is very very straight stern. He's straight up about it, and almost unforgiving. Like he knows his mission, and I think in a lot of ways we need to be more like Jesus in that way.
Yeah, that was
Be
better.
be more,
Take inspiration from
yeah.
him.
Take
Like
inspiration.
he's showing us the way on how we should live our lives.
Exactly, and whenever you have in your mind like that you are living for a greater purpose than just satisfying your fleshly desires or making other people happy, like you start to approach your life differently and the things that you do differently, the people that you associate with. You approach it differently because in my mind I'm like, well, if I don't succeed, if I don't achieve the goals that I want to achieve, then I'm not going to be able to help the people that I want to help. And because I think about a lot of things that we've talked about before, but like philanthropy, giving back, and being a representative of Christ in that way, reaching thousands, millions of people, right? If if I'm not able to succeed, if I'm not able to accomplish the things that I have set forth, the dreams that God has placed upon my heart, if I'm not able to do that, well then all those people that I could have connected with, I won't be able to. All the people that I could have maybe fed or clothed in the name of Jesus, right? All those people will remain lost, right? So I think whenever you have that in your mind, the mission, what's your life's mission, what's your life's purpose, and Jesus is very very clear about going and making more disciples, feeding the poor, and helping the needy. Like that's what we were called to do. And so whenever you can't just allow people to walk over, you can't allow yourself to live for other people because that gets in the way of your ability to do that.
Yeah, and I think in this chapter, verse 5 through verse 5 through 12, he's kind of alluding to that in a way where he says in verse 6, he says, "Be careful," Jesus said to them, "be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." And kind of what you're saying, I feel like you got to be careful and watch out for the bad influences, right? And I think he also kind of, or how it says in continuing through those verses, the disciples were once again, they were worried about going hungry, worried about like this little thing.
Yeah.
But Jesus was like, no, that you shouldn't worry about that. I've already shown you and proved to you time after time after time that you of little faith. Like, how many times do I gotta show you and prove to you that that's something that you shouldn't worry about? I'm telling you, be guard against against the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we should uh, be more prioritizing than, and then, for example, starvation from lacking of bread, you know.
Yeah.
And I think there's a deeper meaning than just bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good point because it's like I mean, I swear he says it so many times. You men of little faith.
Yeah.
Why do you have such little faith? He says that over and over, but it's kind of how you're pointing to. This is the small stuff. Like Jesus has already proven himself over and over, and yet they still are stuck on the small things.
Yeah, and I think we can relate to it so much, especially when uh, those hardships do come to your life, where you're struggling maybe financially, or you're worried how you're gonna pay the next bill, that bill, right? Time after time after time, you have little faith. I have shown you, Jesus says. I have shown you. I've come through for you time after time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be worried of that. You
Yeah.
know, be worried of this. Be on guard against this evil yeast that
Yeah.
the Pharisees and the Sadducees are trying to influence you with.
Yeah, and the Pharisees and Sadducees, which I would say maybe you can equate to today, is like the false narratives in the media, the people in the culture that are saying the opposite of what God's word says, go against what He says. I think it's like, no, you need to be worried because He says, remember, I think it was also in Matthew where it says like our battles are not fought against flesh and blood, but against like principalities and it's like spirits, and that's what we're facing. Like our things, little things of this earth, like or the earthly things, that's not our concern. Our concern is winning people for Christ and combating the evil that's in our world. And I think, but it's very easy because we get so like narrow minded and we look at the little problems that we have, and
You have little faith. I think it's so crazy how old is the Bible? Like thousands of years.
2000.
Yeah,
Yeah, 2000.
I think it's crazy how
Well,
this Bible,
the
this
New
book
Testament. The
is
New Testament is
the New Testament is
2000.
2,000 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all of this is connecting to today,
Yeah.
and I think it's just crazy the closer and the stronger bond that we acquire with God, the more we start to learn and become even more wise and learn the lessons that He's teaching us.
Yeah,
I think that's so crazy.
and they're so relevant to today.
They're right on spot, yeah.
They're right on spot. Is I just think that, man, I don't know. It's just almost sometimes it's a little scary.
Yeah,
It's a little scary how spot on it is to today. And but I think that's why I mean it's called the living word, right?
yeah.
It's a living word of God because it doesn't lose its meaning, it doesn't lose its significance. If anything, it gains it because of how freaking spot on it is, you know, standing the test of time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
I feel as if, I don't know, just these past however many podcasts we're on already, since we started reading the Bible, I feel like with the book of Proverbs, that's more of a personal level. And
Mhm.
then the Gospel of Matthew, that's more of the bigger picture.
Yeah,
And it's just crazy the lessons that and the wisdom that we're gaining by reading this and shoot sharing it with our viewers.
yeah, sharing it with our viewers. And man, like we still have the rest of Matthew, we still have Mark, Luke, and John. We have all these, and what's cool about it too is that each one is a different account of Jesus's life, and the like so we get different perspectives and different takes on on how Jesus lived his life, and we get to look at, maybe they talk about some things in Mark or Luke that they didn't touch on in Matthew, and so it's like no matter what we're reading, it's getting a closer insight into who God is. And eventually, whenever we move on to Acts, when we move on to Romans, all these, like, I'm excited to read even more books. And then once we finish Proverbs, moving reading books in the Old Testament, and then being able to connect those to the New Testament and see in real time, like, Jesus fulfill the prophecies that were in the Old Testament. Him being the, like, how he always said, I didn't come to what do you say, I didn't come to abolish the law, I came to fulfill it.
Mhm.
And so yeah, all of this is, I'm excited to continue to move forward, because, man, and we're just getting closer. We're just getting closer, like, each time we read it, we're just getting closer towards the crucifixion, towards Jesus conquering death. And I like the pace that we're also going at it, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like true. I don't know. Ever since we started, I do feel more wise, especially not only, of course, with the Word and God and my faith, but in life in general.
Hmm.
Just because there's so many lessons, and exactly how it says in this chapter, you have little faith. Like, how many times do I got to show you? How many times do I got to prove to you? Like,
Yeah.
and He's proving to us not only in our life experiences but in His Word. Like,
Hmm.
I'm literally showing you time and time and time over and over again.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why Peter's so relatable, because, like, I feel like we can picture ourselves as Peter, right? But at the same time, we can say in one verse to the next, it's like, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God, and here there he is, he's blessing him, saying, I'm giving you the keys to heaven. And then the next verse, get behind me, Satan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what? He was just blessing him and saying that he's giving him the keys to heaven,
And
and
then
then
humbles his ass.
he
Yeah.
has to he has to humble him. And it's like, that's what I'm saying. I think it's like we can find a lot of ourselves in Peter, because how often how often does he have to say, you of little faith, and then we're like, oh God, we knew always we can rely on you. He's like, blessed are you, my son, and then we say something dumb, and it's like, get behind me,
Yeah.
get behind me, Satan. So yeah, man.
And
Yeah.
I think he's, like I say, he's the best teacher. He's
Yeah.
the best teacher time after time.
Mhm.
Like, and I always turn back to that one verse where it's like, lean not on your own understanding.
Yeah.
And exactly how you're mentioning, we're so relatable to fucking, excuse my language, to Peter, where he's giving us praise, right? He's like, look at my son. He's like, he's doing good. He's doing good. And then he mess up, and then he's just like, oh my gosh, get behind me. Like,
Get behind me.
lock in, bro.
Bro, where's your faith? Where's your faith? Yeah. I love that. Well, man, that's our reading for today. Um I guess I guess naturally it'd be a shorter podcast because we don't have the third input on all this. So, I mean, but that's all we got for y'all today. I mean, do you have any extra words that you want to add before we close out? I mean,
I just think, uh, I really just want to kind of touch base on us doing this. Uh, uh, in a way, it's like we don't really praise ourselves enough. We don't give each other enough grace, because I think not only are we able to show the viewers and inspire the viewers, um, like the lessons that we're learning as we go along this, but like, I just think we're growing up so much. I think we've grown up, we've matured so much, and we're becoming wiser and wiser as the time goes. And I'm really proud of us for just trying and failing, and look how many times that it took us to get to this moment. And we're on podcast number 20, 30,
47.
47. Oh my gosh, bro.
Mhm.
We're on podcast number 47.
Yep.
And we're not slowing down, and I think we've just gotten better and better as the time passes, and we've become more disciplined. And like I said, and exactly how we said, it's crazy now to think about it, but even in we say this with our personal lives or our personal endeavors. We're chickens running with our heads cut off, and you can even see it with this podcast. The first few podcasts that we did, we had no sort of direction with it. We were just kind of, all right, let's sit down, let's talk. Oh, hey, let's sit down, let's try to plan something. And then that kind of goes to crap. And then it wasn't until podcast number what,
25 or something
like
like that.
20
I
something.
think it was 25.
Yeah, to where we're like, okay, hey, we're going to start doing this. Let's do
Yeah.
this. And I think it's just pushed us to grow and become even better than what we were, Ah, dang.
It scared me, bro. I wonder if the viewers heard that. Nah, but I get you, and I think it was episode 25 or 20. I think 26 was the first episode we went live.
Yeah.
I think so. But it's like it's how you say. Yeah, I think 26 was the first episode we went live, but I think 27 was the first time that we actually read the Bible. And so I think we are 20 episodes deep in as far as reading the Bible.
Yeah, and like how I'm mentioning, from what we were to what we are now, I can't praise this enough. Like, I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of us.
Mm-hmm.
We've come a long way, and we're still going. And I believe we're getting rewarded already with it. From the wisdom that we're gaining. And are we getting rewarded financially? No, we're not doing it for that.
Yeah.
And I think it's so much more rewarding because, like how I mentioned, we're becoming so much more wiser, so much more mature, and getting closer to God, and time after time after time, even though we fall short with our faith, even though we doubt sometimes, he goes to prove to us once again that, hey, look how much you've grown, look how much more wiser you've gotten, little by little. I think, I don't know if it says in Proverbs or in Matthew, but I think it's in Proverbs, but he's guiding us towards him. He's guiding our steps.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of how you mentioned, like there's no financial gain, but I think this is something that we can give entirely to God. Like this hour and well, usually like hour and 45 minutes or so, but an hour and a half that we have this time whenever we do, stream this podcast. It's something that we can give entirely to God because we're not gaining anything financial out of it. We gain, like how you mentioned, like with wisdom and knowledge, understanding, and the tools that we need to equip ourselves with to battle and take on the challenges of life. And so I like, if anything, even though I'm not gaining anything financial from this, that like I'm gaining in return is infinitely more valuable, which God is always saying. How better it is to be a good man, a humble man, a wise man, than to have riches. Like that's true riches. It's like better than what he always says, better than rubies, better than gems, to be wise. And so I think this what we're gaining is, though it's not financial, we can give it to God, and in return we're getting wisdom, favor, all these things that help make our decisions better, help make our approaches to different things better. And so, yeah, man, I'm proud of us, of what we have built, what we're continuing to build. And like I said, man, it's only been 21 or 22 or so episodes that we've been reading from the Bible, and yeah, it's like it's kind of hard to tell, like, but how far we've come since then.
Yeah, I like to also believe like we haven't hit, what are we, like a little over 100 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't even hit like that 1,000 mark, those 1,000 marks yet. But I like to believe that for the viewers that do watch us and do read the Bible along with us, I like to believe that they're growing too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I like to believe that this is having a good impact and allowing people to also grow and become wiser.
Yeah, and I think that that's the whole point, right?
Yeah,
The whole point is for us to spread the word, and hopefully, people can see us and see that we're just two normal people, and we just want to grow, and we are. I think I'm hoping that they can see the results in real time.
yeah.
And yeah,
Something else that I think is crazy is that we discuss about philanthropy, and what is philanthropy? It's giving back to people, right?
yeah,
In a way, we're doing that.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Teaching them how to fish,
Yeah,
like giving them living bread and living water, and that's Jesus. And there's nothing more valuable than that.
yeah. I think that's so fruitful.
Yeah,
That's rewarding to me at least. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That'd be awesome. If any of y'all that are listening can say, "Hey, you know what? Y'all guys have brought me closer to God. I've grown my relationship with God.
Yeah.
Whatever." That right there,
That's a W.
that's a
That's a
W.
win.
If you want to comment, that'd be pretty cool
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Show some
I
love.
know some people that have told me that, like, they like our podcast for that reason,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I think that's more satisfying than anything.
Yeah. I like to one day run into that. I haven't. Okay, well, I'm not that social anymore, so
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I like to one day hopefully run into that where like, oh my gosh, I watch all your podcasts. Hey, you're a true fan,
Very
and they
true.
mention it. They drop phrases that we've talked about or
Yeah,
stuff like that. And I'm
yeah,
like, all right, I love you.
yeah. That'd be cool. Yeah,
Uh,
man. There's cool people that are watching us. Some ghost viewers.
yeah.
They watch us and they just stay behind the scenes.
Uh,
And so, but either way, we always appreciate it. Appreciate every single one of y'all for listening, liking, commenting, subscribing if you haven't already. And so, yeah, this episode, yeah, like I said, a little different because we didn't have Brother Jerome, unfortunately, but he's with his family. And so, good on him. Hopefully, next week we get back to normal, have all three of us here. But without further ado, that's it for today. Yeah, we love y'all. Hope y'all have a great weekend, or whatever, whenever you are watching this. Great week. And yeah,